Is Mr. Nagra, and I'm a child's math teacher. I use teacherweb.com. You can look at the assignments that I post up daily. This is my 11th year here at Irvington. It's going by pretty fast. Most of the years I've taught Algebra 2 that I've been here. The exception this year is the readiness test scores were never as low as they were this year. I know a lot of you got letters sent home to your kids to let you know where the situation is. But a lot of you want to keep your child in here, and that's fine. I'm going to work with them as best I can. As far as after school help goes, I'm here after school from about 2:35 to about 3:30 every night. If you want to come in and work on the homework before they go home, that's encouraged. We took our first test this past Tuesday, and we'll get that back this coming Tuesday or Monday. Okay, so whenever they take a test, they get it within a week. It'll be within a week or just less. So let's kind of go over the test corrections guideline that I passed out there, since that's pretty relevant. Your child should already have one once they add it onto my class later on after I passed it out the first day. But the way my testing policy is very similar to Mr. Lay's. We kind of do the same thing, in that if a child scores 60 or higher, they can still raise it up. So if you scored 60% exactly, you could do test corrections and get extra credit, but you need a parent or guardian signature on there. You get 1/3 of the points you missed. Okay, so if you got a 60%, do the corrections, it goes up to about a 70, 73 right in there. Okay. If you score below 60, that's when you have to retake the test. And the highest score you get on a retake is a 70%. Okay, so if you got a 45% on the original test, and you did the test corrections, got a parent signature, parent or guardian signature, and you did the assignment that I assigned out of the book, those three things, in order to qualify for a retake. And on the retake, you got a 65, the score I'm going to count as your original test. You have to get 70 or higher to get a 70. Okay. By the same token, if you scored an 89% on the retake, that means you still get a 70. Okay. It's a chance to redeem your grade. But again, the corrections are important. Even if you scored 94%, you always want to know what you did wrong. Okay? And it really helps the students that score in the 70s and the 80s. They tend to just kind of put the test away, but they haven't really mastered everything yet, so it's good to go back and figure out what you did wrong. And you're allowed to get help from me on that. You come in after school, come into a tutorial, I'll work with you on that, work with the child on that. You get help from friends on that. I just want it to be done correctly. Okay? There's absolutely no excuse to not be able to do the corrections 100% correctly. When they get their test back on Tuesday, on the guidelines it says the corrections due 2 days later. Actually, I don't think I've ever done it. Collected them 2 days later, and allows you about 3 or 4 days after. So when I pass the test back to them on Tuesday, chances are the corrections will be due on Friday. Okay, the retakes will also be on Friday, so there's no confusion. I'll post it on the board, and I'll also write it on the overhead. They should know. Okay, so they have 3 days, well 4 days if you include Tuesday as well, to come in for help after school, during tutorial, and they come in after school, they could correct it themselves if they like, look at the answer key, ask me questions, and help them on it. Okay, that's fine. For the class, we do want the students to have a TI 83 or above. TI 83 is nice because I'm familiar with it. I do not allow those on tests, only on homework and on notes. Okay, it saves them a lot of time on homework sometimes. Also, it gets them familiar with the Kraven calculators. So when we work on matrices, solving systems of equations on the Kraven calculators, they'll be familiar with them. So if they decide to take pre-calculus or AP statistics later on, they'll have some idea on how to use them. Okay, and they can go from there. But I do not allow those on the test. I have about 18 scientific calculators I loan out during tests. So it's always good if you have your own because you're comfortable with it and you're familiar with it. Right? Okay, the first test we took, it shouldn't have been, I shouldn't say that, I made it very, 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 very similar to the practice test, okay? So, again, I know I'm dealing with students right now with the algebra skills part, so they should only just finish really quick. So I made it very similar to the practice test, just to, hopefully they were more comfortable and they did all right and got the confidence going. The next test won't be so similar to the practice test, okay? So I tried to kind of throw them a softball in the first test, so they're not discouraged right at the beginning. Okay? You guys, any questions?